Imagine checking your bank account and seeing an unexpected deposit from the IRS. Pretty nice surprise, right? Well, that's happening right now for about 1 million people. And it's not a new stimulus package or anything. It's more like a catch-up payment for people who might have missed out on a tax credit, one that was tied to the third round of pandemic stimulus payments back in 2021.
It is interesting to see this credit popping up again, this Recovery Rebate Credit. Years later, it was basically a way for people to claim any stimulus money they were entitled to, but didn't receive up front.
Makes sense. So why are these payments going out now in late 2024 and early 2025? Why not back in 2021 or 2022 when the third stimulus checks went out?
Well, you have to think about the timing. Back in 2021, the IRS was using 2019 or 2020 tax return data to figure out stimulus eligibility and amounts. But a lot can change in a year, especially during a pandemic.
Yeah, for sure. People were dealing with job losses, income changes, new dependents, all sorts of things that could have impacted their eligibility for the stimulus.
Exactly. So this Recovery Rebate Credit was built into the 2021 tax return. To account for those changes, people could reconcile what they'd already gotten with what they were actually due based on their 2021 situation.
So it sounds like a lot of people might have missed this credit or just weren't aware of it. But why is the IRS just now getting around to these payments? I mean, it's been years.
There are a few possible reasons. It could be that the new leadership at the IRS decided to clear these backlogs. Plus, you have to remember the massive number of returns the IRS handles, and the tax code is complicated. It wouldn't be surprising if some of these payments fell through the cracks, especially with everything going on during the pandemic.
Before we get into who exactly might be getting these surprise payments, let's remind everyone watching to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more deep dives into topics like this. Okay, so about 1 million people are getting these payments, but who are they exactly? What situations might have made them eligible for the credit without them realizing it?
Well, one big group is individuals and families whose income dropped significantly in 2021. Think about someone who lost their job or had their hours cut because of the pandemic. Their 2021 income might have been a lot lower than in previous years, and that could make them eligible for a larger stimulus payment than what they got initially.
So it's like a retroactive adjustment.
Yeah.
Based on how their finances actually turned out.
Exactly. Another group we're seeing is families who added a new dependent in 2021. Whether it's a baby, an adopted child, or a foster child, each dependent could mean an extra $1,400 in stimulus money.
Yeah, that could really add up.
Yeah.
Especially for families who are already feeling the financial strain of a new child.
Absolutely. And we can't forget about emancipated dependents. Young adults who maybe graduated college or became independent in 2021, they might be eligible for this credit too, if they couldn't be claimed on their parents' taxes anymore. And they met the income requirements. They could have qualified for that $1,400 stimulus payment.
It's interesting how these life changes can impact your taxes, especially during a time like the pandemic when the economy was so unpredictable. But let's talk about the elephant in the room. Why are these payments coming years later? What does that tell us about the IRS?
It's hard to say for sure why there's such a delay, but you have to remember what the IRS was dealing with during the pandemic. They had to implement new laws, process a huge number of returns, and switch to working remotely, all while making sure things were accurate and fair.
You're right. It was a crazy time for everyone, including government agencies. But this delay does make you wonder about the IRS's ability to handle these situations and to adapt when things change so quickly.
It definitely exposes some weaknesses. Mistakes happen, and it seems like a lot of people were overlooked. But on the other hand, the fact that the IRS is going back and issuing these payments now, years later, shows that they are trying to fix their mistakes and make sure people get what they're owed.
I see what you mean. It's good that they're trying to make things right, but it also makes you wonder how many other errors there might be.
That's a valid concern. And it shows why transparency and accountability are so important in government.
Absolutely. To help people understand this better, let's go through some examples. Let's say we have a single parent who is making $60,000 a year, but then lost their job in 2021 because of the pandemic. Their income would have dropped drastically, and they might not have even thought about stimulus payments or the Recovery Rebate Credit.
That's a great example of how income changes can affect eligibility. If their 2021 income fell below the limit for the full credit, which was $75,000 for a single filer in 2021, they could be getting a lot of money now.
That could really help them get back on their feet, pay bills, buy groceries, or even start saving again.
Exactly. Let's look at another example. Imagine a married couple who had twins in 2021. They might have gotten the initial stimulus payments based on their 2020 income, but with 2 new dependents, their situation changed a lot.
So those extra dependents would have made them eligible for more credit.
Yes. Each child under 17 in 2021 was worth an extra $1,400. So this couple could be getting an extra $2,800, which would bring their total credit to $5,600.
Wow, that's a big help when you have twins to take care of.
For sure. Things like diapers, formula, childcare, and clothes can get expensive quickly. These payments could give families some relief.
These examples examples really show how even small life changes can impact your taxes and your eligibility for credits like the Recovery Rebate Credit. It's important to stay informed and be ready to adapt, especially when the economy is uncertain.
I couldn't agree more. It's all about being informed and understanding how the tax system works. The more you know, the better you can navigate the system and make sure you're getting all the benefits you deserve.
Let's talk about the bigger picture now. What does this situation tell us about the long-term effects of the pandemic and the need for ongoing support?
This is a reminder that the pandemic's impact on the economy is not over. Many people are still struggling with job losses, lower incomes, and higher costs. These stimulus payments are helpful, but they're just a temporary fix for a bigger problem.
Yeah, it seems like we're still feeling the effects of everything that happened. This really shows that we need long-term solutions, ones that address the underlying economic problems that were made worse by the pandemic.
I agree. We need to think beyond these one-time payments and focus on systemic changes that make the economy more resilient and equitable for everyone. We need policies that support job creation, affordable housing, accessible healthcare, and education. All the things that help create a stable and thriving society.
Those are definitely important areas to focus on, but for the people getting these payments right now, it's a real and immediate form of relief. It might not fix everything, but it can help ease some of the financial stress.
Exactly. For some people, this money could mean being able to pay their rent or mortgage, or buy groceries, or cover medical bills. It could give them some breathing room and a chance to plan for the future.
It reminds us that behind all the economic theories and policies, there are real people whose lives are being affected.
Let's recap some key points for anyone who might be tuning in now. About 1 million taxpayers are getting these surprise stimulus payments, averaging around $2,400.
These payments are mostly going to people who had big drops in income in 2021, or added new dependents to their families, or became emancipated dependents that year.
If you think you might be eligible, but haven't filed your 2021 tax return yet, it's not too late. You have until April 15th of this year, 2025, to file, and potentially claim the Recovery Rebate Credit.
Now remember, this money won't affect your eligibility for things like SNP or SSI. It's meant to be extra income without putting your other benefits at risk.
And as always, if you have any questions or need help, it's a good idea to talk to a tax professional. They can help you figure out your specific situation and make sure you're getting all the credits and deductions you're eligible for.
That's great advice. Before we wrap up, let's remind everyone to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more insights into current events and complex issues.
This whole situation with the unexpected payments and delays is really interesting. It shows how the pandemic is still having an impact, and it highlights how complicated the tax system is and how important it is to understand your financial rights and responsibilities.
It makes you think about the role of government assistance and how effective different policies are and how we can work together to create a more just and resilient society.
It's a reminder that even topics like tax credits can have a big effect on people's lives. Understanding these things is crucial for being informed and engaged citizens.
Well said. That brings us to the end of our discussion about these surprise stimulus payments. We hope you found it informative and interesting. Stay curious, stay informed, and we'll see you next time for another deep dive.